lions from all over the world. I can already see you guys in the comments being able to say where y'all from. I see New Jersey in the house, my man. We got California, Julian in the house, Mr. Brown also coming from California, Rosa's in the house, Cullen coming from Naples. I see y'all. I just want to welcome everybody to the Lion's Den. The reason why we do this, guys, every single week is always set on 3 words: brotherhood, blessings, and breakthroughs. The brotherhood between men. The only time you look down at a man is when you're picking him back up. Blessings from above, and the God that gives us life. And of course, the breakthroughs. Maybe something I say tonight, maybe something another lion says, but feel free to be able to open up your roar, to be able to get on a call and to be able to express yourself, because that's the whole point of this. It's about bringing men from all over the world. And I honestly want to just start with belief. You see, I was asked this question, Jay, why did you start the Lion's Den? And it was from a belief. And I want to make sure that that is a very, very clear belief. And that is, I feel that men need support. And when I say men need support, I say, I don't give a fuck if you're rich or if you're poor, if you're old or if you're young. If you're black, white, brown color, it does not matter. When you come inside the Lion's Den, what we care about is you being able to express yourself, your emotions, your thoughts, and truly uncaging that roar. Because I truly believe there's a roar in every single one of you. 100%. There is something deep down. And today I'm going to uncover some things myself and personal experiences that I know every single man on this call watching and every man that watches the recordings will be able to understand, because we all go through shit, gentlemen. It's just a matter of the fact. It is what it is. We go through things up, down, and us men just sometimes, most of the time, don't know how to emotionally handle it. We like to suppress. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, because men need men, powerful men. That's why we show up. Because if men get more men that are powerful, then together we become lions, and ultimately we become the kings to our own kingdom. There's no point in competing, but is there? We're going to talk about competition today. That's why I planted that one in there. Because as a lion, you have to become a roaring lion. But when you do become a king, you have to understand you're taking care of a kingdom. And there's going to be others that want to come and take over your kingdom. So you got to learn the different levels to being a man, to being a lion, to being the king that you deserve. And I just want to do a quick check-in while we're here. So I can see Julian in the call, my man. Dan's on the call. JC, always good to see you. Daniel Sanchez coming through. I love it, man. Lou Roberts, good to see you, my brother. Jaquan's in the house. And where this comes present is being present, being a fucking man. When I say that, this terminology has been thrown around a lot. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, the point is we're fucking men. That's it. We need to understand that. And if we can understand being a man, what we also need is a different approach to today's Lion's Den. Because it's not just about lecturing and giving tips and tricks and tactics every single week. No, this episode is specifically about a wake-up call. About a wake-up call and understanding the Pareto's principle of 80-20. That 80% of the outcomes comes from 20% of the efforts. Now, an example, if you have a sales team of 10 people, I guarantee you 2 of those people are going to be probably doing most of your volume. The same thing even in this room, gentlemen. When we're in this room, even in the Lion's Den, you have to understand the commonality of the law of averages will say that only 20% of this room is going to be the fucking roaring lion, the fucking king. Now, what is my job? My job is to change that number. My job is to help empower and inspire more men to stand up and take over that statistic of Pareto's principle and be able to stand within their own skin, to feel comfortable, confident, to be able to express themselves, to be able to communicate effectively, one-to-one, one-to-few, one-to-many, depending on what you're doing, depending on what business you run. Maybe you're starting up, maybe you're a veteran that's raising millions of dollars, because we've had all of them on the call. The point is that you are a man, and today's call is specifically about waking up. Because when I brought that word up, competition, I want us to understand one thing about competition. Competition is around us. We are technically competing with every other man in the world to be the fucking best version of you, to make money, to find the woman, to be able to start the family, to be able to create a fucking legacy, something that nobody talks about nowadays. This is our responsibility as men, but sometimes we need a wake-up call. Sometimes we need to be woken up because we sometimes wait for the bad shit to happen, don't we? We only respond when it gets to that point. We only respond when it hits the final stretch. We don't like to prepare. And, you know, I always go back to that. I see people all the time. I'm going to use the word prepare that I just said. And preparing for the worst. You know, I hear people say this all the time. They're like, prepare for the worst. And I'm like, prepare for the worst? What kind of ideology is preparing for the worst? What the fuck is that? Why prepare for the worst and hope for the best? Hope is for the hopeless. So we can't think like that. Us as men on this call that want to be lions, that really want to be able to roar, is being able to understand that these negatives are going to hit within our lives. Us men just make an interesting choice because we like to suppress the emotion, and then we say, we'll just deal with it later. It's very easy to grab a drink and forget about it. It's very easy to watch a game and lose your mind. But we're not sometimes thinking as men on the power that we have to be the kings that we deserve to be. And when this whole concept of waiting for bad shit, like, I just want to give you guys a little preset on myself. Like, I didn't prepare for certain negative experiences in my life. Like, I didn't prepare to be bullied in school as a middle schooler. I didn't really predict or prepare for being a high school dropout and landing myself in a fucking jail cell at 17 years old. I didn't prepare for the gang wars that I was dealing with when me and my boys would show up and we would do our thing and they would do their thing and there would be cops all over the place. I didn't prepare for losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in the game of real estate, in the game of business, trialing, testing, failing, again, failing, and then more failure, and still having the emotional resilience to know what my vision and my purpose always was. I didn't think of this. Even when I first moved here, I didn't think of this. And when I started to understand that God had an awakening, God had a plan for me, God had something bigger than what Jay's plan was. See, my whole life I was living this whole, Jay's got a plan, Jay knows what to do. But I wasn't leaving it to the big man up there. I wasn't leaving it to a God's plan and the fact that he had saved me through all those experiences. And from that, knowing that God saved me, understanding the negatives like we always do, gentlemen, because we can always, that guy that screwed me over, the one time that I got involved in that fight and it almost cost me that. We always look at the negatives, but the positives now was God was preparing me. God was preparing me through those negative experiences, because along the way there was the positive ones, but sometimes we don't know how to acknowledge those positive ones. We don't know how to acknowledge the fact that I found a mentor when I was 21 years old that coaches LeBron James and Mike Tyson, that was able to get me into the game of real estate at a very young age, where I started to then, as a high school dropout, being able to go and actually get an accounting diploma, a business diploma, a real estate diploma. Couldn't get the degree because I didn't have the high school credentials, but I started finding creative ways to educate myself. I went and found out and sought out other coaches to help me with NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. This is understanding neuro, the brain, linguistics, the language, and how to program your mind, but also how to program and sell and convert and persuade, how politicians do it, how master salesmen do it, like my man Brian on the call. You know, this is the momentum of understanding NLP. And then in my mid-20s, I started transacting multi-million-dollar deals in commercial real estate. So the point of sharing this with you was not the fact that I made a bold decision to leave my entire home city, where I was the king of Calgary and the real estate and the fancy cars and the watches and the clothes, and start brand new in the States here in Tampa, right behind me, 3 years ago. But the point is that there are things that we experience as men that we don't know how to experience. Like, we do it, we deal with it, but we actually don't know how to actually deal with it. There are certain things that happen in our subconscious, certain things that happen in our childhood, earlier years of these negative experiences that actually hold us back from being the roaring lion, I should say. And when it comes to that, I want us to understand that we go through good and bad, guys. We go through good and bad. But I want to make it very clear for a wake-up call is that you have to take the acknowledgement of the good more so. And today I want to give you guys a principle from Stoicism. because you know I'm a Freemason. You know that I love Stoicism. I love the ideology as well as the basic practices that many don't actually get to understand and see because of the way that it's been carried through generation to generation. And I want you to know that within Stoicism, one of the most core principles is understanding when things are in your control and things are out of your control. One of the most fundamental skill sets that I've been able to learn over the years from being coached by some of the best, failing businesses and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars and having a mission now to feed kids, educate the youth of tomorrow, and be able to work alongside you men, adults, powerful leaders in the space to help accelerate that empowerment. And I'll tell you, this really just brings me back to this. Things that you have control and things that you don't have in control. You see, each day we think that we have control over certain things, and we fail to understand when we don't have control over things. Then we experience negative stuff that happens to us, and we don't know how to distinguish which one am I in control with? Which one am I not in control with? And I'll give you a quick story. When I was younger, and I mentioned my experience of jail, and many of you have heard the experiences of the different things that I've experienced. But one thing that was very interesting that day specifically, it just gets me right back to my memories. I still remember my boy, God rest his soul, he's passed on now. But my boy calls me up and he's like, dude, this rival gang is doing X, Y, and Z. They were coming into our territory. They were doing a little bit. So we're like, okay, we got to show up. So what we do is normally in this case is that we usually go and troll the area with our vehicles. They know our vehicles. So my boy calls me up and he's like, okay, yo, let's go. So we meet up, 4 of us. We got some bats in the back. We got bear mace on us. We got a couple of different weapons on us. So we roll around. We're trolling around the area. As we troll around the area, we're like, okay, this doesn't seem right. This doesn't seem right. It seems like a little fishy. But then all of a sudden the guy calls us up and he's like, oh, we're at this corner. Come meet us up. We want to talk face to face. So we call another car, 2 cars, we roll up, boom. You got like 20 guys, and then you got like 20 guys. And we're standing in the middle of a residential community, right? Face to face. And our 2 leaders go square to square. And we're like, oh, listen, we can break this down. We can throw this down. Or, you know, you want to calm your shit, and we can calm your shit. We're having a little dialogue back and forth. While that dialogue is happening, of course, in my mind, in that moment, all I was thinking of is, okay, if we got to throw down, I got the bear mace right on me right now. I'm gonna pull that out. Boom. Small. All of a sudden, one guy throws the punch. It turns into a frenzy. I pull out the bear mace, spray. Buddy comes out with the bat, knocks. The neighbors come out. I remember this old white guy, man. He was like literally shirtless. Comes out like classic white man. Bald guy comes out. He's like, hey, you guys fighting on my property? Comes out with a bat. Now, at this moment, again, it was a little stage because we were set up. And unfortunately, we fled right away because we knew cops were coming. We jump in the vehicle, we drive away. I'm in my Jeep SRT8 at the time. Beautiful, blacked out, murdered out Jeep SRT8. I get my 3 guys in with me. I'm like, yo, we got to get out of here quick. 500 horsepower beast. The thing can move. Trust me when I say this, the thing can move. Speeding out of the community, boom. Cops lock in both entrances. Right there. Point blank. I still remember I'm in the driver's seat. I still got the can of bear mace sitting inside of my waistline. Boom, at gunpoint. 1 by 1, take us out of the vehicle. Arrested on the spot. They come to me, is there anything on you that we should know about? I was like, yeah, there's a can of bear mace right there. They take me downtown. I do the rest of the shebang. I got charged that day. It was a brutal, brutal situation. Now, why do I share the story? I shared the story because was I in control or was I out of control in that situation? I was fully in control. You see, in that decision, I chose to be there. I chose to actually, you know, some of my guys didn't have weapons on them when we got caught. I chose to have certain things on me. I chose to put the bear mace in the specific spot that I put it in. I chose to jump in the driver's seat. I chose to be the getaway driver. I made those conscious decisions. So I can't battle myself on those. But in another scenario, 2 weeks later, I was about 3 weeks later from that exact scenario, I get a knock on the door. My mom, so I was living with my parents, of course, at the time, and my mom, she yells up, and look, I know some people think that I'm just some fancy rich kid from Canada that made his money in real estate that came out to the States, but I'll tell you right now, I got a knock on the door. My mom says, Jeevan, that's my full name, right? Jeevan, there's cops here. How many times has my mom heard that before? And how many times, oh my God, I got to deal with them again. So I come running down the stairs. I was like, yeah, what's going on? It's like, 9 a.m. kind of thing. There's 2 cops that don't look like cops. They don't look like cops. And they're looking and they're like, yeah, we have a search warrant to come inside the house. We have this, we have everything. And I'm like, whoa, for what? Like, what is this regarding? We have every grounds that suspicious activity, this. I'm like, hold on. And they're pressing a warrant up to like the windscreen. So we have like a storm door, and then we have like the actual metal door that with the deadlock. So you can open that one and then you can still see the person, right? Because that's just how Canada is. I've never really seen that here, actually. But while I'm standing there looking through the storm door, they're showing me the piece of paper and they're like, yeah, we have a search warrant. And if you don't let us in, we have SWAT team that's going to come in and blow through the doors and arrest everybody inside the house. And I'm like, whoa. I made a decision in that moment. I unlocked the door. I said, let me see that piece of paper. I unlocked the door. I grabbed the piece. There was no grabbing the piece of paper. They opened the door. They walked right in. My mom, I can still hear her yelling in our language, in Punjabi. And she was like, they're not cops. They're not cops. They're not cops. And as soon as I unlocked that door, they came in. He pulls out a gun. He's like, everybody in the house right now, come here. The other guy starts shutting the blinds, like the curtains and everything like that. And we're just looking at each other. I look over at my dad. My dad's in the kitchen. He's like, whoa, just puts his hands up, walks up to the front. He's like, who else is in the house? I was like, my sister's upstairs. My grandpa's downstairs. They come, literally zip tie my entire family in the front room. Now, that was an interesting experience. By the end of it, they locked us into my grandpa's room at the basement door. They robbed our house. They did the shebang that they needed to. They made my dad grab the safe and they walked away with what they needed to. But the point of that situation was understanding that was a situation I couldn't control. That was a situation I could not control. And for so many years, I held myself responsible. I held myself responsible for opening that door, for unlocking that door. Whether it was for me, whether it was whatever the situation is, they locked us at the end. SWAT team ended up coming towards the end because police, and they just raided the house anyways. So that day, me and my family walked out one by one from oldest to youngest. And I was the last one, and I threw my phone down while I was still on the phone with the 911 operator. So we only had one phone, my grandpa's little flip phone. Y'all remember flip phones? I don't think this generation would understand flip phones. Dan's like, yeah, I remember that. And from that point, I understood it was my fault. And for so many years, I carried that emotional baggage on my heart, that it was my fault. I caused that. I caused pain. I caused regret. It was me in the game that I was in, the fuckers that I was chilling with, the people that were not involved in the right things. But I thought that they were my family. I thought that they were my brothers. I thought they were my brotherhood. I thought they were going to show up no matter what happens. And in that moment, I started to realize throughout my journey of therapy within myself and the coaches that I've been able to learn from and work through the part of the mind as a man that I held on to, holding on to that memory and thinking to myself that I was blaming myself when ultimately I wasn't in control there. I had no control over that situation. And it took me so many years to overcome that and understand that I was not in control. Every single man on this call has gone through experience, maybe more severe, maybe less severe. It's irrelevant. We've gone through experience as men, especially that bad experience, the death, the divorce, the divide, these things that cloud our judgment. But I really want to ask you guys, are you in control in that situation? Like when you look back at those experiences that you've had, especially those negative ones that you don't really like to pull back out, because you're like, it's done with, I'm done with it. I moved on from it. But some of those things that hold us back in our adulthood years, some of those things that happen when we were teenagers and young guys, just being bold. Are you in control of those situations? Have you owned those situations? Now, the only tip that I'm really going to give today, because usually I go into a teach out and usually I do a couple other things, but today I wanted this to be a wake-up call for you guys. I wanted this to be you guys to understand, the gentleman on the call, that you have to focus on what you can control. You have to focus on what you can control. You got to get good at understanding what you are in control of and what you're not in control of. That is a decision-making process. Man, I sound American, process. I usually say process. I love this. Y'all Americans conditioning me. I love it. But what can you actually focus? When it comes to that, you must focus on that. You must focus on the differentiator, right? Where am I actually in control and where am I not in control? So this week, I really want you guys to ask yourself about these experiences, because we all hit certain plateaus. We all hit certain mental barriers and boundaries that nobody will ever fucking understand. You are doing what you are doing because your experience. Like, I've shared a little bit of my experience. I don't think, it would be like a similar story, but of course I could bring up Julian and Julian could tell you some crazy stories when it comes to the game. I could bring up other guys that have experience in certain ways. So there's never about a competition in experience. But as I mentioned competition at the beginning, there is a competition of the man that's willing to work through his fucking bullshit more than you are. The one that's really implementing the right strategies and the cold shower concept. If you're going to put yourself in a cold shower in the morning when nobody's fucking watching, nobody besides you naked in the bathroom, and you jump into a cold shower, you're testing your brain. That's what you're doing. You're not doing this health side effect and, I'm going to lose this much weight and Gary Brecka told me to do it and all. No. What you're going to understand is that you are testing yourself mentally to do something that's uncomfortable. That's forcing yourself to know that, guess what? What if there wasn't hot water? What if there wasn't hot water? Would I still shower? Would I not shower for the next 3 days? That's conditioning a man the right way. We've lost this in this generation that we live in. We lost this in the way that we are just pivoting and positioning and trying our best to kind of get through the way where there's so many other demographics in the world. Like, even the transgender community has taken out men. How are men not standing together the right way to go through these emotional battles and speak about them? Because I'll tell you right now, every single line on the call could be doing exactly what I'm doing. Could be hosting a call, could be sharing your experience, could be converting into business opportunities, could be going out there and meeting people with handshakes, steak dinners, and wine glasses and being able to transact millions of dollars. Every man on this call has that same exact opportunity if you know how to uncage your roar, if you know how to share your story, but most importantly, how to own your fucking worth, how to own that internal worth that you have, where every single time that you've said to yourself, I'm not good enough, or I could be better. Yeah, you're probably fucking right because you're thinking it. Like, the minute that you're thinking that, you're already automatically creating that. So when we need to understand that men suppress emotions so quickly, and if I'm just saying if, not even the when statement, if you were to convert some of those negative traumas in your life into positive motivation and outlook, it not only will just uncover your story, it'll allow you to actually connect deeper, more meaningful for those people that you're connecting with. Whether it's that wife that you want to really just spend the rest of your life with, whether it's the team that you're building, that you're cultivating, whether it's you speaking. Most people that I talk to, like, Jay, you're such an eloquent speaker, man. You communicate so well. First of all, I wasn't born like this. I was fucking deathly scared of public speaking. I'll tell you days where I was like, I wouldn't show up to certain classes. I wouldn't show up to certain promotions and companies because I did not want to get on the podium. I did not want to grab a mic in my hands. But the more that I started to understand that the experience that I'm going through and how God is conditioning me through the negative battles that I've gone through and how many times God has saved me over and over and over again, alongside all the negatives that I can talk about, there's beautiful positives on this side that can be embraced. So the things that we have in control are what we need to focus more on. So I challenge you, Lions. I challenge you this week to find those things. Ask yourself those questions. What am I in control of? What am I not in control of? What emotional stress is holding me back? Is it fear? Is it judgment? Is it ego? It's usually one of them. It's usually one of them. One is always going to be primary, one is going to be secondary, and the third one you don't really know about yet. And when you can start establishing that and you start to understand the judgment, is it the judgment of others? Am I stopping myself and holding myself back because I feel that the judgment of others is going to break me? Is it the ego within myself? Am I just capable of bigger and badder and I don't need to be wasting my time here sitting on a Lions Den call at 8 p.m. on a Thursday? I got better things to do. Or is it the fear of the unknown? And that's a scary one because some of us battle with the fear of success. Some of us battle with fear of failure, but I'll tell you what will surpass all of them: the fear of the unknown. When we were kids, think about it. We were scared of the dark. Why were we scared of the dark? Because it's the unknown. We just don't know. Psychologically speaking, the only two fears are the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. Those are the only two fears that can break you out of your subconscious mind when you're in delta-like state between about 5 to 9 hertz of brain frequency. Which means when you're in a dream and you fall, you wake up. When somebody clinks a doorknob, if you noticed, that actually is more effective than waking somebody up than actually shaking them. Is a knock at the door or a door opening. Just because of our conditioning on the noise of that, subconsciously programmed into a danger that may be coming in. So when I say all this, guys, what does this all mean? This all means that when you understand Stoicism and you understand the ideology of the real character, when you look at Marcus Aurelius, when you look at a Roman emperor and certain belief systems that he had, certain things that he stuck true to, didn't matter that he was running an empire, didn't matter even that his health was actually very, very bad, but he had idealistic principles that he would follow day in and day out about doing things no one's watching. Doing the things when no one is watching. That is the purity of finding yourself as a man, really being able to uncage your roar as a lion, and then becoming the king that you deserve to be. People talk about people, average people talk about events, great people talk about ideas, right? I always use that to evaluate. And sometimes the people that are closest to us, our friends, our family, they want the best for us, but they don't know what's best for us. Even somebody that was a childhood best friend, like 22 years old, you guys started this company, started running it, getting going and everything like that. It's like, that's still two different pathways. And it's hard to disconnect, but I'm glad that you guys are still connected. That's the most important part. As long as y'all are still friends and connected, that's really what matters. When it's the disconnect, like a full divide, that sometimes is a little bit more to overcome because it's like, I spend so much time, you spend time. But the fact that y'all are connected, I think it is one of those things you can't control. Gentlemen, as we get here to the last minute of the call, I just want to say respect. Respect to all the gentlemen on the call, those that watch in the recording, but specifically the ones that were bold and courageous enough to share cameras, share experience. That's what it's about. I really want this platform to be for men, and you heard stories, vulnerabilities, to release that emotion. We're not given a place, are we? It's very hard for us to do this in the real world. Very hard to talk about, friendships that were business partnerships that then unfortunately weren't there. It's hard to talk about the times that you want to jump off a fucking balcony and now sold $50 million, in your business. Like these are incredible stories that show you that regardless of whatever the fuck you've been through as a man, if you know how to channel that energy the right way, guess what happens, gentlemen? There's a lot more brightness on the other side. There is other brothers like the ones on the call today that you can rely on, focus on, and help pull one another. As I always say, brotherhood. The only time you look down at a man is when you're picking him back up. The blessings from above in our God and the breakthroughs from all the lines that you've heard from today. So gentlemen, thank you for tonight. I think I'm freezing at some point right now, but hopefully you can still hear me. Thank you for tonight, gentlemen. I will see you guys next week, 8 p.m. EST on Lions.